When you have spent most of your adult life knowing and hanging with makers and creators, you come to know some very talented, capable, and special people. And then, if you're lucky, each one of them becomes a part of your life's network. You come to cherish these people for their friendship and their talents, being surrounded by a living, breathing library of knowledge and information. But when you spend enough time with these folks, you also come to learn that no matter their talents and their abilities, no matter the richness they bring to you into the world, so many of these folks live with levels of self-doubts and perceived limits that haunt or potentially even reduce them, making them question the strengths of their own experiences. Recently, I had a conversation with one of my longtime friends and a fellow maker, Mike. Mike is in my network. He has often helped me when I needed information or talent that I just didn't have. Mike is one of these guys who works an 80-hour week and throws himself completely into what he does because he's Mike. Mike has a machine shop, and this past weekend, he found himself in a position where he could take on some work from another machine shop that was falling behind because the volume of work was overwhelming this other machine shop's ability to put it out. Mike's wife had found out about this other shop's problems, networking, and then put Mike in contact with the shop's owner. Behind every great man is a great, you know. Mike and his wife traveled to visit the shop and the shop's owner, who was impressed with Mike and offered Mike the opportunity to take on this work. And then, self-doubt. Or was it just honesty? Mike doesn't know, because he tells the owner that he has never trained as a machinist through any tech school or apprentice program. Mike learned to be a machinist through curiosity, self-study, networking, and making the occasional mistake. When Mike and his wife leave, they're unsure if they had the work. In the car, on the drive home, his wife asks, "Mike, why did you tell him that?" When Mike is telling me this story, I ask him, "Could you have done the jobs?" Mike says, "Easy, with my eyes closed." So I answer, "Mike, I agree with your wife. Why did you tell him that?" Mike answers me, "Just to be honest." He says this with an inflection of uncertainty as to knowing himself exactly why. This brings up the question, and maybe the debate, what is in a title? I was invited a few years back to work with and help another friend in talent, Mark, who is a professional conservator and restorer of wood antiquities, on a project he was working on in Washington, D.C. When he called me and asked if I could come down and help, my first thoughts were, "Dude, I don't do this stuff like you know this stuff. Why me?" You see, I had doubts, but I agreed to come down. My wife encouraged me. Behind every great man. When I got to the work site after getting national security clearances and running the gauntlet to access the building, think guys with dark sunglasses and guns, I asked Mark, "Why me?" And I remember well his answer. He said, "Because you are you. Because you know woodworking, you know how to work, and you know how to think and process problems." Now, I didn't know what Mark knew, but I did know what I knew. Mark also said to me, and this is probably the most critical, "I can give you the task and know that I won't have to teach you every nuance of the work. And then I can walk away knowing that when you run into something you don't know or understand, that you will stop and ask." And that means everything to me. It was beyond a doubt one of the most interesting and hardworking 2 weeks of my life. But I learned that I could do so much more than I first believed. In our conversation, I told Mike to fake it until you make it. Now, I don't mean to lie, never lie, it will always catch you. But to understand your own talents and understand where your true limits are. And then know enough to stop, think through a problem, and ask for help when you get stuck. Be humble, trust in your abilities, rely on your network, and then get out and do the work.